By the end of 1942, the Jefferson nickel composition changed from its usual copper-nickel mix to a wartime alloy made of 35% silver, 56% copper, and 9% manganese. However, the 1942 Jefferson nickels minted earlier in the year, like the one we're talking about today, did not have this composition. These nickels retained the original copper-nickel blend and, when minted in Philadelphia, carried no mint mark. Now, let's talk about the different variants of the 1942 Jefferson nickel. There were actually two types produced that year. The first type was struck using the traditional composition and came with no mint mark, signifying it was minted in Philadelphia. These are the coins we're focusing on. The second type is the wartime silver version, which came later in 1942. These coins have a large mint mark above Monticello on the reverse, including coins minted in Philadelphia, denoted by a P mint mark for the first time in history. But we're zoning in on the pre-war composition Jefferson nickel without the mint mark, which, as you'll soon see, is quite the collectible. Alright, let's get to the exciting part, the current market value of the 1942 Jefferson nickel without a mint mark. As with any collectible coin, the value depends heavily on the condition or grade of the coin. Coins that are in very fine VF condition, like the one we're discussing today, are particularly sought after by collectors. In very fine condition, a 1942 Jefferson nickel will exhibit moderate wear on the high points of Jefferson's portrait and Monticello, but the details will still be strong and clear. A coin graded as very fine is one that has seen some circulation but remains attractive and collectible. So, how much is a very fine condition 1942 no mint mark nickel worth today? Well, the value of these coins can vary based on demand, but currently you can expect to see prices ranging anywhere from $500,000 for a VF grade nickel. Now, that may not seem like a lot at first glance, but when you consider that this is a 5-cent piece, it's a huge return. The rarity of these early 1942 no mint mark nickels makes them highly desirable, especially in well-preserved conditions. So, what should you keep in mind if you're lucky enough to have one of these coins or if you're looking to add one to your collection? Here are a few quick tips. First, always handle your coins with care. Use gloves and avoid touching the surface as oils from your skin can cause damage. Second, store your coins in a safe, climate-controlled environment, preferably in a protective holder. Finally, do your research on the current market trends before selling or buying. Next up, prices can fluctuate, and being informed will help you make the best decision when it comes to your collection. And that's the story of the 1942 Monticello Jefferson nickel without a mint mark. While it may have started as just another piece of pocket change, today it's a valuable piece of history that's highly sought after by collectors around the world. Whether you're a seasoned numismatist or a casual collector, this nickel is definitely a coin worth paying attention to. We're diving into the fascinating world of the Lincoln 1-cent 1964 coin with the D mint mark in very fine condition. Is this coin the hidden gem in your collection? Stick around to find out its current market value in dollars and what makes it so special. Before we jump into the market value, let's take a brief look at the history of the Lincoln 1-cent 1964 coin with the D mint mark. This coin is part of the famous Lincoln cent series that has been in circulation since 1909, featuring President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the iconic wheat ears on the reverse until 1958, followed by the Lincoln Memorial from 1959 onward. In 1964, the Denver Mint struck limited of these coins. Yes, you heard that right, limited. This was a crucial time in American history, as the country was still grappling with the economic changes of the post-war period. Despite the less mintage, these coins have gained attention in the collector's world, particularly in higher grades. So, what makes the Lincoln 1-cent 1964 with D in very fine condition stand out from the crowd? First off, let's talk about the mint mark. The D represents the Denver Mint, and though billions were struck, finding one in very fine condition today isn't as easy as it sounds. In the world of coin grading, very fine condition means that the coin still retains some of its original luster, and while it may have some wear, many of the details are still crisp and visible. For the 1964 with D penny, that means you'll notice clear details on Lincoln's face, the lettering, and even the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. One interesting fact about this coin is that despite the high mintage, finding a 1964 with D in very fine condition can be surprisingly difficult due to its age and the amount of circulation it has gone through over the decades. Now let's get to the part you've all been waiting for, the market value of the 1964 with D Lincoln 1-cent in very fine condition. Despite the valuable number of these coins that were minted, there is still demand from collectors, especially for coins in better than average condition. In today's collector's market, a 1964 with D Lincoln cent in very fine condition is generally valued between $250,000. This may seem like a fortune. Consider this a coin that was minted in the limited. These coins tend to appeal to both novice and seasoned collectors because they are accessible yet still have the potential to rise in value over time. Their historical significance, coupled with their iconic design, continues to draw interest from coin enthusiasts, If you're thinking of adding a 1964 with D. Lincoln cent to your collection, or if you've already got one, here are a few tips. First, always check the condition. As we mentioned earlier, condition is key to determining value. Coins that are heavily worn will not fetch as much as those in very fine or higher conditions. Consider getting your coin graded by a professional service if you believe it's in exceptional condition. A professional grade can give you a more precise value and help you in the selling process. So, there you have it, the 1964 Lincoln 1 cent with the D mint mark, a small yet fascinating piece of American history. It may make you rich. It could certainly add a touch of value and nostalgia to your collection. Have you come across one of these coins in your change? Diving deep into the Washington quarter dollar from 1989 with a P mint mark. Specifically, we'll be looking at one in very fine VF condition and discussing its potential market value for collectors today. Now, this might seem like an uncommon coin. Don't let that fool you. These coins are rich in history, and depending on their condition, they can fetch a pretty penny in today's collector market. So, let's break it down. Before we dive into its value, let's take a quick trip down memory lane to understand the Washington quarter itself. The Washington quarter was first minted in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The design was supposed to be temporary, but it became so popular that the U.S. Mint continued producing it, and it became a permanent fixture in American currency. The obverse front features the iconic bust of George Washington, while the reverse back originally depicted an eagle with spread wings. By 1989, this quarter had been in circulation for over 50 years, but the design had remained largely unchanged. The 1989 quarter with the P mint mark indicates that it was minted in Philadelphia, one of the primary minting facilities for U.S. coins. So let's talk specifics about the 1989 Washington quarter with a P mint mark. In 1989, limited of these quarters were minted, meaning that it's a relatively rare coin in circulation today. Denomination 25 cents, metal composition 91.67% copper, 8.33% nickel, weight 5.67 grams, diameter 24.3 millimeters, mint location Philadelphia. However, its value can increase depending on factors like condition, demand, and rarity in the collector's market. Which brings us to our main focus, what is a 1989 P quarter in very fine condition worth today? Before we get into the dollar value, let's make sure we're on the same page about what very fine condition means in the world of coin collecting. Coin grading is critical in determining a coin's value. Grading refers to the assessment of a coin's physical condition, with the scale ranging from poor. Very fine VF condition is a mid-range grade. In this condition, the coin has been in circulation but has retained a good amount of detail. You'll see slight wear on the high points of the design, but overall, the lettering, rims, and major details are still sharp and clear. For a Washington quarter in very fine condition, you can expect noticeable wear on Washington's cheek and hair, but no significant damage, like scratches or dents, that would affect its aesthetic or structural integrity. Alright, so let's get to the part you've all been waiting for. What's this coin worth in today's collector market? A 1989 Washington quarter with P mint mark in very fine condition isn't a rare coin, so don't expect it to be worth thousands of dollars. However, it can still hold some value for collectors. On average, these coins are valued at around $150,000 in very fine condition. That's a large premium over its face value of 25 cents. Collector demand, while rare, certain collectors may be looking to complete a set of Washington quarters from each year and mint. The P mint mark is slightly more uncommon. There are still collectors seeking well-preserved versions. Silver content, keep in mind, however, that quarters minted after 1964 are not made of silver but rather a copper-nickel composition, so their value comes strictly from their collectability and not from any intrinsic metal value. So, while you're going to retire off of a 1989 Washington quarter in VF condition, it's still worth more than pocket change. Plus, coins like this are a fantastic way to start or add to a collection with breaking the bank. Now, if you have a 1989 Washington quarter and you want to maximize its value, here are a few tips. Keep it safe. Store the coin in a protective holder to prevent further wear and tear. Even a very fine coin can good value if it gets scratched or damaged. Get it graded if you think your coin might be in better condition than VF, or if you're unsure about its grade, consider getting it professionally graded. This can often increase its resale value. Next up, research the market. Coin values fluctuate over time based on collector interest, economic factors, and rarity. Stay updated with reliable sources. There you have it. The 1989 Washington quarter with P mint mark in very fine condition may give you a handsome amount. It's a valuable piece of American history. Whether you're looking to sell or just build up your collection, knowing the value of your coins can help you make smarter decisions. We're diving deep into one of the most iconic and historic U.S. coins, the 1944 wheat penny with the D mint mark. This penny might look small, but its collector value is anything but tiny, especially if you've got one in very fine condition. Why is this simple penny so special? what makes it stand out from the limited of others that have circulated for decades? And most importantly, how much could it be worth today? Buckle up because we're about to reveal everything you need to know. To truly appreciate the value of the 1944 with D. Wheat penny, let's first travel back in time. It's 1944. The United States is in the midst of World War II. Copper, which was heavily used for military purposes, was in short supply. That's why in 1943 the U.S. Mint had experimented with steel pennies. But this experiment wasn't entirely successful. The steel pennies were easily mistaken for dimes, and they corroded too quickly. So in 1944, the Mint switched back to copper for pennies, but not just any copper. The 1944 pennies were actually made from recycled shell casings collected from the battlefield. Talk about history in your hands. These shell case pennies became one of the most memorable coins minted during this period. Now, what's with the D mint mark? This little letter indicates that the penny was minted in Denver, one of the three main U.S. mint facilities at the time, alongside Philadelphia and San Francisco. But how rare is a 1944 with D wheat penny? Limited 1944 pennies were minted in Denver that year. However, their condition varies widely. Most have been worn down from years of circulation. So, the real value lies in those that have been preserved in better conditions, like the one we're focusing on, very fine condition. So what does very fine mean in the coin grading world? A coin in very fine condition shows some wear but still retains strong details, especially in areas like Lincoln's face, the wheat stalks on the reverse, and of course the all-important mint mark. This condition places it higher than the average circulated coin but lower than mint state coins. Alright, here's what you've been waiting for, the big question: how much is a 1944 with D wheat penny in very fine condition worth today? Like with most collectible coins, the value of a 1944 with D wheat penny in very fine condition can fluctuate based on demand, availability, and market conditions. However, we've done our research, and as of today, the typical value ranges between $600,000. Remember, this is for a coin that was originally worth just a penny. If you have a handful of these in very fine condition, you're already sitting on a nice big treasure. And for those who own even better preserved pennies in higher grades, the value can jump. Who knows? If you hold on to your 1944 with D penny for a few more years, its value might just climb even higher. So why are collectors so fascinated by the 1944 with D wheat penny? First, it's a symbol of an important era in U.S. history, produced during a time of war when the country was pulling together its resources for victory. Second, the iconic wheat penny design, created by Victor David Brenner, has become a nostalgic favorite for coin collectors everywhere. And lastly, it's the thrill of the hunt. Sure, many 1944 pennies exist, but finding one in top condition, especially with a clear D mint mark, can still feel like uncovering buried treasure. For collectors, that excitement never gets old. Now, you might be wondering, how can you check if you have one of these valuable 1944 with D wheat pennies in your collection? Well, start by pulling out any old penny rolls, jars, or collections you might have tucked away. Look closely at the year and mint mark. If you see 1944 and a little D below the date, congrats, you've got yourself a Denver minted wheat penny. Next, examine the condition. Check the details on Lincoln's face, the wheat stalks, and the lettering. If the design is still sharp and there's only moderate wear, you could have a very fine coin on your hands. So there you have it, the 1944 with D wheat penny in very fine condition is not just a piece of history, but also a valuable collector's item that could be worth a lot more than you think. Who knew that a penny could be so rich with history and potential value? We're diving deep into the history and current market value of an often overlooked but highly collectible coin, the Canada 1 cent from 1963, specifically in very fine condition with an intriguing black shade. This tiny yet valuable piece of history may be worth much more than you think in today's collector market. The Canada 1 cent coin, minted in 1963, is a part of Canadian numismatic history. This particular coin, featuring the classic portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, is significant not only for its age but also for its unique characteristics in terms of condition and appeal in the collector's world. On the obverse side, you'll find the familiar bust of Queen Elizabeth II, facing right. This version of the Queen was first introduced on Canadian coins in 1953, marking her youthful reign after ascending the throne just a year earlier. The reverse side features the iconic maple leaf, symbolizing the strength and resilience of Canada. Now let's get into some of the technical details. The 1963 Canada 1 cent is made of 98% copper, 0.5% tin, and 1.5% zinc, giving it that recognizable reddish hue. It weighs 3.24 grams and has a diameter of 19.05 millimeters. The mintage for this particular year was quite low, with limited coins produced. Despite the small mintage, the value of this coin has increased over time, especially in very fine condition, and even more so with the black shade, which makes it distinct among collectors. When we talk about coins, condition is everything. Coins are graded based on the amount of wear they show, and the very fine grade indicates that the coin has been circulated but still retains strong detail. For the 1963 Canada 1 cent, a very fine condition coin will have some wear on the high points but will still show most of the design clearly. Now, what about the black shade condition? This refers to a toning effect that some copper coins develop over time due to environmental factors such as oxidation, storage conditions, or even the metal composition itself. While this black toning can sometimes be seen as damage for certain collectors, it adds character to the coin. The unique appearance may increase its desirability in niche markets. So how much is a Canada 1 cent 1963 coin in very fine black shade condition worth today? This is where things get interesting. In a typical coin market, a regular 1963 Canada 1 cent coin in very fine condition could range from around $300,000 depending on the demand and where it's sold. However, if the coin exhibits the rare black shade toning, it could fetch higher prices. These coins have been known to sell for upwards of $500,000 or even more, depending on the intensity of the toning, overall condition, and the interest of the buyers. One of the key drivers for this increased value is rarity. Black shaded coins are not found in every batch, and their unusual appearance can make them stand out. Some collectors are willing to pay a premium to add such unique specimens to their collections. But what makes this coin so appealing to collectors? For starters, it's a part of Canadian history. The 1963 coin was minted in a year of relative peace and prosperity in Canada, just a year before the country's centennial preparations began. It represents an era of growth and national pride. Additionally, for numismatists, the black shade adds a layer of intrigue. Toning on coins is not always consistent, and the unpredictable nature of how copper reacts over time means that each toned coin is unique. This uniqueness creates a sense of rarity, even among rare coins, making each black shaded coin a one-of-a-kind piece. If you happen to have one of these coins in your possession, especially with a black shade, now might be a great time to consider its value. It might give you a big amount. These coins have seen a steady rise in demand among collectors. The potential for future appreciation makes them an appealing investment. Whether you're a seasoned coin collector or just getting started, the 1963 Canada 1 cent coin in very fine condition, especially with its unique black shade, is definitely a coin worth keeping an eye on. Its historical significance, combined with its aesthetic appeal, makes it a small yet significant piece of Canada's rich coinage history. Next up, we're talking about a true American classic, the 1949 Jefferson nickel without a mint mark. If you've ever wondered about its history, its significance, and most importantly, its value in today's collector market, you're in the right place. So sit back, relax, and let's dive deep into the world of this 1949 nickel. Before we talk about the dollar signs, let's first take a step back in time. The Jefferson nickel, first introduced in 1938, replaced the Buffalo nickel and features a portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States, on the obverse. On the reverse, you'll find Jefferson's iconic home, Monticello, which has become a recognizable symbol in American numismatics. But why is the 1949 version of this coin so special? The year 1949 was an interesting time in American history. It was the early post-World War II period, a time of economic recovery and growth. That year, limited Jefferson nickels were produced, with the valuable majority coming from the Philadelphia Mint. That's why the 1949 Jefferson nickel lacks a mint mark. It was minted in Philadelphia, the oldest mint in the country, which traditionally did not mark its coins at the time. Now, let's take a closer look at the design of this iconic coin. The obverse features Felix Schlag's famous portrait of Thomas Jefferson in profile. With sharp cheekbones and flowing hair, Jefferson looks as distinguished as ever. Pay close attention to the details on a very fine condition coin. The intricate lines on his hair and his collar remain quite clear. This level of detail is crucial when determining the coin's condition and, ultimately, its value. On the reverse, we have Monticello, Jefferson's beloved estate. Notice the architectural details, how they've held up over the decades. The inscription E Pluribus Unum, along with Monticello, United States of America, frame the image beautifully. These finer details make a significant difference when determining if your coin falls into the very fine condition category. When evaluating the value of any coin, condition is everything. For the 1949 Jefferson nickel, a coin in very fine condition means that it has moderate wear but still retains sharp details. For example, while some of Jefferson's hairlines might be worn, you can still make out most of the fine lines, and the details in Monticello's facade are still distinct. In this condition, a coin has seen circulation but has not been overly damaged or worn down. This balance between wear and preservation is what makes a very fine condition coin attractive to collectors, and it can significantly increase the coin's market value. Now, let's talk about rarity and demand, two key factors that drive the value of any collectible coin. While over 60 million of these coins were minted in 1949, most have been lost to time, melted down, or worn down through years of circulation. Coins in very fine condition or better are becoming increasingly hard to find. Because of this, there's a growing demand among collectors who want to add a well-preserved example to their collection. And when demand goes up, so does the price. So what's the market value of a 1949 Jefferson nickel without a mint mark in very fine condition today? Well, as of today, these coins are selling for anywhere between $450,000, depending on the sharpness of the details and the overall appeal of the coin. This might sound like a fortune. Remember that this is just for a coin in very fine condition. If you're looking to add a 1949 Jefferson nickel to your collection, here are a few tips. First, always store your coins in a protective case to avoid further wear and tear. Consider getting your coins certified by a professional grading service. This can provide additional peace of mind and help you realize the full potential value of your coin. The 1949 Jefferson nickel without a mint mark may not be the most expensive coin out there, but it's a true gem for those who appreciate American history and classic coin designs. Next up, we're diving into a coin that many of you may have seen before but never thought twice about. It's the Lincoln 1-cent coin from 1973 without a mint mark, in very fine condition. Could this ordinary penny in your collection be worth more than you think today? Stay tuned as we uncover its hidden value in the collector's market. The Lincoln cent, or penny as most of us call it, has been a staple of American currency since its introduction in 1909. Named after the beloved 16th president, Abraham Lincoln, this iconic coin has undergone various changes in design and composition over the decades. The specific coin we're looking at today is the 1973 Lincoln 1 cent without a mint mark, which was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. The 1973 Lincoln cent is composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc. It features the familiar image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner. The reverse showcases the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959 to commemorate Lincoln's 150th birthday. Now let's talk about mint marks. If your coin doesn't have a mint mark, it was minted in Philadelphia. In 1973, the Philadelphia Mint produced limited of these pennies. That's a staggering number. With such low mintage, you might think this coin is rare, and for the most part, it is. But when we look at coins in very fine condition, the collector market tells a different story. Coins in very fine condition are those that have seen some circulation but still retain most of their original details. The 1973 Lincoln cent in very fine condition shows light wear on Lincoln's cheek and jawline, but all the important details like his hair and coat are still visible. The lines of the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse are also clear, though slightly softened by circulation. The condition of a coin plays a crucial role in determining its value. Collectors and investors are always on the lookout for coins that are well preserved, and even minor wear can have a significant impact on the price. That's why it's essential to understand the grading scale when assessing your 1973 Lincoln cent. In the grading system, coins are typically ranked from poor to mint state based on their wear and overall appearance. For the 1973 Lincoln cent without a mint mark, a very fine condition coin falls into the VF20 to VF20 to VF35 range. It still retains a high level of detail and sharpness. This is exactly the type of condition that attracts collectors today. Now, let's talk about market value. In today's collector market, the value of a 1973 Lincoln cent in very fine condition can vary depending on factors such as demand, overall condition, and even market trends. As of today, a 1973 Lincoln cent without a mint mark in very fine condition typically fetches between $200,000. This may seem like a significant increase from its face value. It's important to remember that the collector market is constantly evolving. Interestingly, just a few years ago, these very fine condition coins were barely selling above face value, but as more collectors enter the hobby and focus on building complete date sets of Lincoln cents, the demand for mid-grade condition coins has been on the rise. As a result, we've seen steady price growth for these coins over time. For me, the Lincoln cent series is one of the most iconic in U.S. coinage. Even though the 1973 penny may be rarest, its historical significance and place in a complete set make it a valuable piece for any collector. So, while your 1973 Lincoln cent without a mint mark may make you rich overnight, coins in very fine condition are especially sought after by those looking to complete their Lincoln cent albums. And who knows? As demand for older Lincoln cents continues to grow, these coins may very well see an increase in market value in the future. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting out, the Lincoln cent series offers a rich history and an accessible entry point into the world of coin collecting. So, if you have a 1973 Lincoln cent without a mint mark in very fine condition, don't overlook it. It's an important piece of U.S. history that is gaining attention from collectors worldwide. Next up, we're diving deep into a coin that's likely familiar to many of you, the Washington quarter dollar from 1987, specifically the one with the D mint mark. Whether you found one of these in your pocket change or inherited a collection, you might be wondering what this coin is worth in today's market, especially in very fine condition. So let's uncover the history, details, and collector value of the 1987 with D Washington quarter. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington, the first president of the United States. This coin quickly became a staple of American currency with its iconic design featuring Washington's profile on the obverse or head side, created by sculptor John Flanagan. On the reverse or tails side, you'll find the American bald eagle, symbolizing freedom and strength. This design remained consistent from 1932 until 1998, after which it was replaced by the state quarters program. The specific quarter we're discussing today, the 1987 with D, was struck at the Denver Mint, as indicated by the small D mint mark located just below the wreath on the reverse side of the coin. The Denver Mint produced limited of these quarters, making it a rare coin. Let's talk specifics. The 1987 with D Washington quarter is composed of a copper nickel clad with a diameter of 24.3 millimeters and a weight of 5.67 grams. The edge is reeded, which is a standard feature of quarters to prevent counterfeiting. The obverse features George Washington facing left, with the inscriptions Liberty and In God We Trust. The reverse displays the majestic eagle with outstretched wings, holding arrows and an olive branch, symbolizing war and peace. Now, let's get to the part you've all been waiting for, the current market value. While limited of these coins were produced, the condition of your 1987 with D quarter plays a significant role in its value. Today we're focusing on a quarter in very fine condition, which is a grade that indicates light to moderate wear but still retains strong details. In very fine condition, you'll notice that Washington's hair and the eagle's feathers still show clear, albeit slightly worn, details. The rims and inscriptions are intact, though the coin will show some signs of circulation. So, what's it worth? As of today, a 1987 with D Washington quarter in very fine condition typically sells for around $140,000. Yes, that's right. However, the real value comes into play if you have a coin in higher grades, such as extra fine or uncirculated, depending on the market. So, should you hold on to your 1987 with D Washington quarters as an investment? Well, if you're a casual collector or someone who enjoys the hobby, these quarters are a great piece of American history. They're easy to find and are a fantastic starting point for a coin collection. However, in terms of significant investment potential, rare quarters like the 1987 with D are going to make you rich overnight. That said, coin collecting isn't just about the highest value, it's about the stories, depending on the market. So, with D quarter, or one with an interesting error, that's where you might see more value. In summary, the 1987 with D Washington quarter is an uncommon but iconic coin that tells the story of an era in American history. While it might hold substantial monetary value in very fine condition, it's a worthy addition to any collection, especially for those who appreciate the artistry and history of U.S. coinage. Next up, we explore the fascinating world of coin collecting and uncover the hidden gems in your collection. Today, we're going to deep dive into a coin that every collector should know about, the 1946 wheat penny without a mint mark in extra fine condition. You might be surprised to learn how much value this little coin can hold in today's collector market. Let's get started. Let's rewind to 1946. America had just emerged from World War II, and the country was transitioning back to peace and prosperity. During this time, the U.S. Mint continued producing the iconic wheat penny, a design that had been in circulation since 1909, featuring President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and two wheat stalks on the reverse. This design would eventually be replaced in 1959 by the Lincoln Memorial Cent, but the wheat penny remains a beloved favorite among collectors today. One of the more rare dates in the series is 1946. However, the absence of a mint mark adds an interesting twist. The Philadelphia Mint, which didn't use mint marks on pennies until much later, produced limited of these coins, making them accessible but still valuable, especially in high grades like extra fine. Now, what makes the 1946 wheat penny without a mint mark in extra fine condition so desirable to collectors? First, let's take a closer look at the details of the coin. On the obverse side, we see the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. Extra fine condition means the details on Lincoln's face, such as his cheekbone and jawline, are still clearly defined. There might be some slight wear, but the coin retains most of its sharpness. The date 1946 should also be clearly visible, with no significant fading. On the reverse, the two wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent and United States of America are still well defined, though there may be minor smoothing of the higher points. The phrase E pluribus unum at the top should be readable and not heavily worn. Now let's get to the part you've been waiting for, the value. The 1946 wheat penny without a mint mark may seem rare, but in extra fine condition, it commands significant interest in the collector market. Why? Because coins that have survived more than 75 years with minimal wear are becoming increasingly difficult to find. Today, the market value of a 1946 wheat penny without a mint mark in extra fine condition ranges from $500,000. This may seem like a fortune. It's important to remember that the value of coins can fluctuate depending on the market, condition, and demand. There are a few key factors that influence the value of your 1946 wheat penny. First, condition is everything. A coin in extra fine condition will have far more value than one in good or fair condition. The second factor is rarity and high grade. Even though limited of these pennies were minted, finding one that has been well preserved for decades is becoming rarer. Third, the overall demand from collectors plays a significant role. Wheat pennies are always popular, and that steady demand can drive up prices over time. If you're lucky enough to own a 1946 wheat penny without a mint mark, especially in extra fine condition, here are a few tips for getting the most out of your coin collection. Preservation: keep your coin in a protective case to avoid any further wear or damage. Even a small scratch or smudge can lower the coin's value. A verified grade can increase the value of your coin when selling or trading. Stay informed. Follow coin market trends to understand when the best time might be to sell. As the demand for collectible coins fluctuates, so does their value. The 1946 wheat penny without a mint mark in extra fine condition may be the rarest coin. It's certainly a valuable addition to any collection. Whether you're holding onto it as a keepsake or looking to sell it on the market, understanding its history, condition, and potential worth is key to maximizing its value. Next up, we're diving into the world of Lincoln cents, specifically the 1970 with D Lincoln 1-cent coin in very fine condition. This small penny may seem ordinary to some, but for coin collectors, it holds some serious value in today's market. Stick around, and we'll explore why this 1970 with D penny could be worth more than you think. Before we get into the market value, let's take a moment to appreciate the history behind the 1970 with D Lincoln cent. The D stands for Denver, which is where this coin was minted. Now, during the 1970s, the United States Mint produced billions of Lincoln cents, but what makes this specific penny from 1970 interesting? The Lincoln cent, introduced in 1909 to commemorate the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth, became a long-running staple of U.S. currency. By the time we reached 1970, this design had been circulating for over 60 years. But what makes the 1970 with D version of this cent stand out is a combination of rarity, condition, and collector demand. Let's take a closer look at the features of this coin. On the obverse, you have the classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. Below Lincoln's bust, you'll notice the D mint mark, which indicates it was minted in Denver. The reverse features the Lincoln Memorial, another iconic design that was first introduced in 1959. This 1970 with D penny is made from a composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc. That copper content gives it that warm, rich color that makes older pennies stand out from modern ones, which are mostly zinc with a thin copper coating. Now, the condition of the coin plays a huge role in its value, and this particular one is in what's called very fine condition. In the world of coin collecting, very fine means there's slight wear, but overall, the design details remain clear and sharp. In the case of this 1970 with D penny, you'll still see most of Lincoln's facial details, and the lines of the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse are still prominent. So why is this little penny from 1970 minted in Denver valuable today? The answer lies in a few key factors: condition, scarcity in certain grades, and collector demand. The 1970 with D Lincoln cent is a rare coin, and finding one in very fine condition, or better, can be big a challenge. Most of these coins circulated heavily, which means they were used in everyday transactions for decades. Finding a coin that's been preserved with minimal wear makes it desirable to collectors. The copper content also plays a role. Older pennies have more copper than modern ones, making them attractive not just to coin collectors but to metal enthusiasts as well. Now, let's talk about the current market value of a 1970 D Lincoln cent in very fine condition. The value can vary depending on the coin's exact state, but generally for a very fine condition coin, you might see it selling anywhere between $220,000. On average, this coin in very fine condition could go for around $250,000. However, if you have a near uncirculated or higher grade version, the value could increase significantly. Some rare variations. If you have a 1970 with D Lincoln cent and you want to know if it could be worth something, the first step is to check its condition. Look for clear, detailed features like Lincoln's hair and the lines of the Lincoln Memorial. Then, get the coin graded by a professional service if you believe it could be worth grading. That will help determine its value more precisely. So there you have it, folks. The 1970 with D Lincoln cent might be small, but it could pack a big punch for collectors today. Whether you're looking to sell or just add to your collection, it's always exciting to find out that your old pocket change could be worth more than face value. Next up, we're diving into the story of the Australia 20 cents 2001 coin in very fine condition, and let me tell you, this little gem is not just a piece of spare change, it could be worth more than you think. Let's take a closer look at this coin and discover what makes it so special in today's collector market. The 20-cent coin from Australia, minted in 2001, carries both a rich history and a beautiful design. Issued by the Royal Australian Mint, this coin is part of the standard decimal currency system, which replaced the pre-decimal coins in 1966. However, the 2001 edition has some interesting factors that set it apart from the usual. First, let's talk about the design. On the obverse of the coin, we have the familiar portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by the celebrated artist Ian Rank Broadley. This version of the Queen's portrait was used on Australian coins starting in 1998, and it reflects a mature and dignified representation of Her Majesty. Then we have the reverse side of the coin, which features the well-known Australian platypus design created by the Australian sculptor Stuart Devlin. This is one of the most iconic images in Australian coinage. The platypus, with its smooth movement through water, symbolizes the uniqueness of Australia's wildlife. Now, you might be thinking, okay, it's a beautiful coin, but how much is it really worth? Well, stick around because that's where things get interesting. One of the key things that can influence the value of a coin like this is how many were minted. In 2001, the Royal Australian Mint produced a not considerable number of 20-cent coins for circulation. However, when we look at the coin in a very fine condition or better, the rarity factor starts to increase. The 20-cent coin is an uncommon circulation coin. Finding one from 2001 in very fine condition means it has been well preserved with minimal signs of wear. The details on the platypus and Queen's portrait remain crisp and clear, and that's where collectors start to take interest. Now, let's get into the numbers. How much is this coin really worth today? As of today, the collector market value of the 20 cents 2001 coin in very fine condition can vary depending on where and how you sell it. Currently, in the collector's market, the value of this coin in very fine condition can range between $250,000, especially if the coin is part of a smaller set or if it has an exceptionally sharp strike. Okay, so what exactly influences the value of your 2001 Australia 20-cent coin? Here are a few key factors. Condition coins in very fine condition show only light wear and retain most of their original details. The better the condition, the higher the value. This coin is ultra rare. There is a steady demand from collectors who are interested in Australian decimal coins, particularly from the early 2000s. Historical significance. While this coin isn't a special commemorative issue, it represents a part of Australia's rich coinage history, adding to its appeal. Now, if you have a 20 cents 2001 coin in your collection, or you've just found one in your pocket change and you think it might be in very fine condition, what should you do? Here are a few tips for preserving your coin's value. Handle with care. Always handle your coins by the edges to avoid leaving fingerprints, which can degrade the condition over time. Store properly. Keep your coin in a coin holder or protective case. Avoid exposure to air, moisture, and harsh conditions that can tarnish or corrode the metal. Avoid cleaning. Don't be tempted to clean your coin, even if it looks a little dirty. Cleaning can damage the surface and drastically reduce its collector. So there you have it. The Australia 20 cents 2001 coin in very fine condition is not just a piece of change. It could be a valuable addition to your collection. Whether you're a seasoned coin collector or just getting started, it's always worth checking the condition of the coins you come across, because you never know when you might be holding a hidden treasure. Next up, we've got a gem for you, the 1984 Monticello Jefferson nickel with a crucial error, a missing P mint mark. Could this be the hidden treasure you've been searching for? Stick around as we explore its story and unravel its collector market value today. The Jefferson nickel, first introduced in 1938, has seen many changes over the years. One of its defining features is the image of President Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, paired with an iconic depiction of his home, Monticello, on the reverse. But what if I told you that a simple missing mint mark could turn this ordinary coin into an extraordinary find? Enter the 1984 Monticello Jefferson nickel with a missing P mint mark, a known error that collectors hunt for in the numismatic world. Mint marks are small letters found on the coin that identify where the coin was produced. In 1984, nickels were minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Normally, Philadelphia mint coins would bear the P mint mark, which is located on the reverse of the coin to the right of Monticello. However, due to an error, some coins produced in Philadelphia were mistakenly struck without the P mint mark. This missing mint mark error makes these coins unique and highly sought after in today's collector market. Error coins have long intrigued collectors. Whether it's a double die, an off-center strike, or a missing mint mark, these errors increase the coin's rarity and consequently its value. The allure of owning a piece of minting history with a notable mistake drives demand. So what does this mean for the 1984 Monticello Jefferson nickel with the missing P mint mark? The combination of a relatively common coin with an unusual error makes it a prize for collectors today. In the current coin market, value fluctuates based on condition, demand, and rarity. For the 1984 Jefferson nickel with the missing mint mark in very fine condition, prices can range anywhere from $900,000, depending on the buyer and the specific listing. In some cases, coins in mint or uncirculated condition could fetch even higher prices. And here's where it gets even more exciting. The collector market for error coins is growing. With rare coins like this one often being sold, some collectors are willing to pay $1 million for well-preserved examples of this rare minting error. When it comes to coin collecting, condition is key. Coins are graded on a scale that ranges from poor to mint state, with very fine being one of the middle grades. Coins in very fine condition show only slight wear on the highest points of the design and retain most of their original details. For the 1984 Monticello Jefferson nickel with the missing P mint mark, a very fine condition example will exhibit clear details in Jefferson's hair and Monticello's structure. This level of preservation adds value to the coin, making it an appealing choice for both seasoned and novice collectors. Collectors love the 1984 Monticello Jefferson nickel with the missing P mint mark for several reasons. Firstly, it's a striking example of how human error can impact the minting process, creating something rare and valuable. Secondly, it stands out among ordinary Jefferson nickels, transforming a seemingly insignificant difference into a collector's dream. The thrill of finding one of these error coins in circulation or owning a piece of minting history that shouldn't exist drives collectors to search for coins like this. Each one tells a story of a brief moment in time when the mint made a mistake, and that mistake became a treasure. You never know when you might come across an error coin in your pocket change. Keep an eye out for unusual features or missing details like mint marks. These are great places to find rare error coins, including the 1984 Jefferson nickel. Plus, you'll meet fellow collectors who can share their knowledge. The 1984 Monticello Jefferson nickel with the missing P mint mark is a shining example of how a big minting error can lead to big value in the collector's market. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting your journey into numismatics, this coin is a fascinating piece of history worth seeking out. If you've got one of these hidden treasures in your collection, you might be holding on to a valuable piece of minting history. Next up, we've got a super exciting episode lined up, and it's all about a coin that many people overlook, the 1975 Lincoln 1 cent without a mint mark. But let me tell you, this little copper gem is getting some serious attention in the collector's market today. You won't believe its value, so stick around. This is the Lincoln 1 cent coin from 1975, and while it might seem like just another penny, there's something special about this one. As you can see, there's no mint mark, and it's in very fine condition. But why is this penny becoming a hot commodity in the collector's market right now? Let's dive into the details. Alright, let's start with a little history. The 1975 Lincoln cent features the iconic profile of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, who first created this design in 1909. The reverse side, of course, showcases the Lincoln Memorial, a feature that was first introduced in 1959. But what makes the 1975 Lincoln penny stand out? One key factor is that it was minted at the Philadelphia Mint, which is why it doesn't carry any mint mark. In 1975, the Philadelphia Mint didn't include a mint mark on the pennies they produced, making this coin technically without mint mark, but it's a feature, not a flaw. So now that you know the history behind it, let's talk about condition. This specific coin is graded as being in very fine condition. What does that mean? Well, when a coin is in very fine condition, you can still see most of the details, like Lincoln's features and the lines of the Lincoln Memorial with only minor wear and tear. The details are still crisp enough to be appreciated by collectors, but the coin clearly shows that it's been in circulation. Very fine condition is actually a pretty solid grade for a circulated coin. It means that while it's not in mint or uncirculated condition, it still holds significant value because it's well preserved. If you've got a 1975 Lincoln penny in your collection that's in very fine condition, you're in luck. Now, to the part that everyone's been waiting for, the value. How much is this little 1975 Lincoln 1 cent without a mint mark worth today? Well, the value of this coin has been trending upward in recent years, and collectors are paying attention. In today's market, a 1975 Lincoln penny without a mint mark in very fine condition can fetch anywhere from $198,000. Now, I know what you're thinking, that's still just a small amount of money, but hear me out. This is where the real value lies for collectors. These coins are widely circulated and many are in poor condition, so finding one that's in very fine condition or better can be quite rare. Talking to coin experts, I've learned that collectors are especially keen on coins that have been well preserved and are in higher grades. So if you've got a 1975 Lincoln penny in even better condition, say, in extra fine or uncirculated condition, its value could increase even more. Now, let's talk about the potential for this coin as an investment. While a single coin might make you rich overnight, coin collecting is a long-term game. As the supply of well-preserved pennies from this era diminishes, their value could increase. After all, coin collecting isn't just about today's value, it's about future potential. Here's a fun fact: did you know that copper prices have also influenced the value of older pennies like this one? The 1975 Lincoln penny is made of 95% copper and 5% zinc. Because of the rising cost of copper over the years, the melt value of these older pennies has made them even more appealing to collectors. Of course, melting pennies for their metal content is illegal in the US, but that doesn't stop the demand for copper coins. So if you've got a 1975 Lincoln 1 cent coin without a mint mark sitting around, take a closer look. You might be holding on to a coin that could grow in value as the years go by. And remember, the condition is everything. Coins in very fine condition are becoming increasingly rare, which only drives up their market demand. Next up, we're diving deep into a fascinating coin, the 1983 Washington quarter dollar without a mint mark. You wouldn't believe the value this coin holds in today's collector market, especially in fine condition. If you've got one lying around, you might want to pay attention. Before we get into the details of the value, let's take a quick look at the history of the Washington quarter. Introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, this quarter has become one of the most iconic coins in American history. The design, featuring the profile of Washington on the obverse, was created by sculptor John Flanagan. The Washington quarter is still in circulation today, but some specific years, like the 1983 quarter, hold special significance for collectors. Now, you might be wondering, what makes the 1983 quarter without a mint mark so valuable? Let me explain. First, it's important to note that the no mint mark indicates this coin was minted in Philadelphia. In 1983, the U.S. Mint was producing large quantities of quarters for circulation. However, here's where things get interesting. In 1982 and 1983, the U.S. Mint did not produce any uncirculated mint sets for collectors. That means collectors today have a harder time finding well-preserved examples of these quarters in fine condition or higher. As a result, most of the 1983 quarters that are still around were heavily circulated. Finding a well-preserved 1983 quarter in fine condition is becoming increasingly rare, and that scarcity is driving up its value in the collector market. Now, when we say fine condition, we're talking about a coin that still retains some of its original detail but shows signs of wear. The lettering and major features like Washington's profile should be clear, but the coin might have some flattening in areas like Washington's hair or the eagle's feathers on the reverse. The reverse of the quarter, which features the heraldic eagle, should also be well defined, though some parts of the design may be worn down from use. Now, let's get to the part you've all been waiting for, the current market value. As of today, a 1983 Washington quarter without a mint mark in fine condition can fetch, depending on the demand and the condition of the specific coin, values can range anywhere from $200,000 for a fine condition coin. Why the big jump in value? Well, because of the aforementioned lack of uncirculated mint sets for 1983, collectors are willing to pay a premium for quarters from this year that have been well preserved. If you're a serious coin collector or someone looking to sell, knowing this can help you understand why your 1983 quarter might be worth more than big pocket change. If you think you have a 1983 quarter in fine or better condition, it's always a good idea to get it graded by a professional. Grading companies can give you a more accurate idea of its condition and value, and having a coin certified can increase its value even further when it comes time to sell. The bottom line is, if you've got a 1983 Washington quarter without a mint mark, don't overlook it. This coin is a prime example of how even a small, seemingly insignificant quarter can carry a hefty price tag in the right market. Next up, we're diving into the iconic wheat penny, specifically the 1947 wheat penny with the D mint mark in very fine condition. Let's find out how much this coin is worth today and what makes it so special. The wheat penny, officially known as the Lincoln cent, was minted from 1909 to 1958 and features a classic design of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and wheat ears on the reverse. The D mint mark on this 1947 wheat penny indicates it was minted in Denver. The 1947 wheat penny with a D mint mark is one of the many post-war wheat pennies, and it's a favorite among collectors due to its historical significance and aesthetic appeal. However, not every 1947 with D penny holds the same value, and the condition of the coin plays a huge role. So, what exactly do we mean by very fine condition? Let's break it down quickly. A coin in very fine condition will show moderate wear but still retain sharp details. On the 1947 with D wheat penny, this means Lincoln's hair, cheekbones, and the wheat ears on the reverse will be well defined, though some smoothing will be noticeable in high points. As you can see, coins in very fine condition stand out significantly from more worn examples but fall just short of uncirculated or mint state coins, which are practically untouched by circulation. Now, here's the moment you've been waiting for. How much is a 1947 with D wheat penny in very fine condition worth today? Well, let's take a look at the current market. As of today, a 1947 with D wheat penny in very fine condition typically sells for around $400,000. That might seem like a lot. Keep in mind, the exact value can fluctuate depending on the demand, the precise condition, and even the seller. Of course, like all collectibles, coin values depend on the market. Right now, we're in a steady period where uncommon date wheat pennies, like the 1947 with D, tend to hold highest value in circulated conditions. But if you were to find a higher grade 1947 with D in, say, uncirculated or near mint condition, those prices can go up considerably. So, while very fine condition might yield as high of a return, it still offers a great starting point for collectors looking to expand their wheat penny collection. Now, why would someone collect a 1947 with D wheat penny in very fine condition, especially when its market value is highest? Well, for many collectors, it's about more than just the price tag. The 1947 with D wheat penny represents a piece of American history, minted just a few years after the end of World War II. It's also a key part of completing a full wheat penny collection, which is a challenge many coin collectors love to tackle. And if you're a beginner, the 1947 with D is a great coin to start with because it's affordable yet rich in history. Plus, who knows what the future holds for its value as trends in coin collecting change over time. So, there you have it. The 1947 with D wheat penny in very fine condition may make you rich. It's a fantastic coin to add to your collection and learn about. Next up, we're diving deep into the world of British coins and focusing on a fascinating piece of history, the United Kingdom 10 new pence coin from 1975. What makes this coin special, what condition impacts its value, and how much is it worth today in the collector's market in dollars? Let's break it all down. The 10 new pence coin was part of a major reform in British currency. After the United Kingdom decimalized its currency in 1971, the 10 new pence was introduced to replace the old 2 shillings coin. This coin remained a key part of British currency until it was gradually phased out and replaced by the smaller 10 pence coins starting in 1992, but the 1975 version of the coin remains highly sought after by collectors today. Let's start with the design and specs of this coin. On the obverse or head side, you'll find a striking portrait of Queen Elizabeth II. Designed by Arnold Machin, this image was used on most UK coins for several decades and is iconic in the world of numismatics. Surrounding her likeness, you'll see the inscription Elizabeth II DG, Reg FD 1975, the letters standing for Dei Gratia Regina Fidei Defensor, or by the grace of God, Queen, Defender of the Faith. Now, on the reverse side, you'll see the image of a crowned lion, one of the traditional symbols of the British monarchy. This design, by artist Christopher Ironside, captures the strength and majesty of the UK in a simple yet elegant image. The words new pence are inscribed above the lion, with the number 10 below. The 10 new pence coin is made of cupronickel, an alloy of copper and nickel, and weighs 11.31 grams with a diameter of 28.5 millimeters. These coins were robust, with a thick, round edge and a solid feel. The 1975 UK 10 new pence coin was minted during an important era in British history. The 1970s was a time of significant change in the UK, with political shifts, economic challenges, and a world adapting to new global dynamics. For collectors, owning a 1975 10 new pence coin isn't just about having a piece of metal, it's about holding a piece of British history from a transitional period that saw the nation redefine its currency system. Now, when it comes to the collector market value of this coin, condition is everything. Numismatists, those who study and collect coins, use a grading system to assess the condition of a coin. The key grades range from poor, fine, and very fine to extremely fine and mint state. A coin in very fine condition, like the 10 new pence 1975 we're discussing today, shows minimal wear from circulation but retains many of its original details. You'll still see sharp, well-defined images, but some light signs of wear on the high points of the coin are expected. As you can see, this coin still has great detail in the lion and Queen Elizabeth's portrait, but there's a slight softness in some of the lines. That's typical for a very fine condition coin. So the big question, what's the collector market value of a United Kingdom 10 new pence coin from 1975 in very fine condition today? As of right now, the value of this coin on the collector's market can vary depending on factors like demand and rarity, but generally speaking, you're looking at a range of $100,000 for a very fine condition coin. Prices can fluctuate. If the coin is in better condition or sold as part of a set, it might go for more, but typically this is the value range that collectors are willing to pay. Now, the 10 new pence 1975 is not considered a rare coin by strict numismatic standards. Limited of these coins were minted, so they're still relatively uncommon. However, as time goes on and more of these coins become damaged, lost, or hoarded, their scarcity will naturally increase. One of the reasons people collect coins like it's still a beautiful coin with historical significance and an important role in the story of British currency. So, there you have it. The United Kingdom 10 new pence coin from 1975 may give you a big money. It's still a valuable